Dina!
Hi, Ashley! So good to see you!
So good to see you too!
Yay!
Hope
And
you had
on
a
all
good-
platforms!
And on all platforms! I know! Y'all!
It's amazing! Join us on all platforms! Yay! So exciting!
Now you can listen to us everywhere. You're so welcome.
And I could put you to bed at night.
Oh boy!
Right? You can listen to me while you're going to bed.
Yes.
I like it.
The soothing sounds of Dina Paduano.
Yes. So soothing.
Yes. Amazing. Well,
Thanks.
I hope you had a good weekend.
I did. It was very quiet, and I really needed the decompression and the recharge. And so
Nice.
sometimes I just need days where I don't talk to anyone. And so I had one of those days on Sunday, and that
good.
was really nice.
Oh, good. That's very nice. That's lovely.
Yeah. And you?
It was beautiful weather here. It was a gorgeous day in downtown Charleston.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a lovely weekend. Ran around a little bit, but, did a little recording and stuff too. So that was fun too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're about to get into some fun topics.
Speaking of which, are you ready for today's? Because, girl,
I
it is kind of a
am.
doozy. And
Wait, before, because I don't want to keep interrupting, and I'm working on this, but it is so interesting on the daily videos that I make for the short vids, like the YouTube shorts and everything. Literally, it's either I have the foresight and something will happen that day that pertains to that, or like a day later, or what's been happening is people have been getting mad at me for shit that I post, assuming it's about them.
well, I get mad at you sometimes. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
I know, but why?
I've
Why
never
would
told
you
you
assume
that.
I'm doing? Why? But why would you assume I'm doing a video about you if I'm sending it directly to you to post it?
I don't. Well, I do.
But
I actually do assume you're doing it about me sometimes because I know you've got a little woo-woo-ness. And I know it's not just for me. And I know it's for the fucking collective.
Right? But then somehow,
But
some
sometimes
way,
I take it a little personally.
Well, and you're not the only one. I'm sitting here minding my own freaking business, and I will get calls randomly of
Really?
people fucking coming in hot.
Really?
And I'm just like, yes. And I'm like,
awesome.
Wait, what? Well, and I'm just a little confused, right?
Well,
And so, yeah, I just wanted to start that off before
well,
we
listen.
get into all of this because titles, you gave me these titles a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And things have transpired in the interim, and now specific people are going to assume with this title, I'm talking about them.
okay. Yeah, all right. So
Yeah, just putting it
what
out
she's
there.
talking about, folks, is Dina and I try to, well, you do the daily videos, and sometimes I do pull topics from that I would like for us to discuss. And sometimes it's just shit that I need to learn. So today's topic would be that, case in point, so today's topic is what happens when we try to fix people. So I'm super guilty of that over the years and all my past relationships, and still it's something I'm big time working on. And so, I feel very privileged that I get to choose these topics and throw them
Right.
to you and have
Well,
a little
because-
therapy sesh.
Right?
You
Or
know?
just a little conversation we can all learn from. But the number one thing I think is so offensive about this topic, not the topic, but, the sentiment to it, is that we assume people want to be fixed, or they want our help, or they need to be fixed.
Right.
So then, therefore, by trying to fix them, you might be insulting them.
Right.
On
there's
top
that.
of everything else.
Right.
You're like,
Well, 'cause I'm one of
they
those
get
people-
that little thing.
I feel like sometimes if people are like, and this is where I need to learn how to ask, like, do you want my help? Do you want me to just listen? Do you want to vent? People will start unloading and loading, and they sound so sad. And it's so terrible. And you're
Yes.
like, oh, I can just get my hands in there and just give you one little,
Yeah, you could get your hands in there and fix their problem for them in the way you think that it should be fixed, right? And I'm only using you. I could use us, whatever.
I know I'm going to be all up in that pan today. And so just throw me in, baby. Coat me in butter and throw me the fuck in.
It's a walk today. You're going in deep. And so if you think about it, it's just like you're just coming from your narrative, yourness. So then you're saying to me, and I'm just asking hypothetically, if someone like me said to you, it's really not nice when you try to fix people, blah, blah, blah. So then when someone comes to you and it is so obvious what it is they need to fix, how do you keep your mouth shut?
I don't. That's my problem. I'm like, let me tell you exactly how to fix it.
Oh my God, that's so cute and sweet and lovely. But I guess now I'll answer the question is how you keep your mouth shut is you go in and you have to kind of sit there and go, okay, this could either go two ways right now. I could either say A, B, C, or D and maybe offend this person, maybe not offend this person, or I could keep my mouth shut. And at the end of them venting and needing to get it out, you can maybe say something that I always get from the great Brene Brown is, what does support from me look like for you right now?
Yeah, that's
or
good.
How can I support you?
Yes.
Or do you need me to do anything? Like, should I call the girls and we could go, get someone? Or like we used to do stakeouts with girlfriends and we would just go spy. Or like do funny, fun things, but not something that you're trying to change. Or because people are really defensive when they are in that mode. And so if we're getting them in a hyper insecurity space, imagine they're going to shoot the messenger, which the messenger in this case in point would be you or me. And then it's going to be like, but I was just trying to help.
Right. And I know how I feel when I'm in that mode too, where sometimes I just want to like share my story and feel some sympathy from someone because I just went through it over something. And when people try to get in there and give me 100 suggestions, I don't like it. I know that.
You don't like it because you feel like, not just you, but me, I feel like when people are doing that, I don't feel like they're hearing me. I just feel like they're listening in on and honing in on what they can fix or where they can be of service.
Right.
And in one way, that's kind of kind, but in another way, it's kind of insulting because you're not holding the space for me to even get through the whole subject without you already finding ways to fix me.
Correct. And I feel like when people do it to me, I feel like they are saying they don't trust me to figure it out and to do the work on my own. So they're, and I come about it honestly. Mom, if you're listening, it's true. But, years of that. And I always looked at it as, she was helping with things, even though it might not have felt good. Sometimes it did result in something, she would work things out sometimes. And I watched that. And we all have a saying in the family of like, well, there goes Patty. She's going to fix it, and God bless her. 9 times out of 10, she does. But it's like I have that in me, and I grew up watching that. And I think I've over the years tried to discern that line of like, first of all, it was how can I help without being so blatant about it? And the second is like, am I even being asked to help? And the answer is usually no.
Yes, exactly. So and the assumption, because think of it, let's just go down a sort of negative positive, right? The negatives of trying to help fix someone is you're assuming they want your help. You're assuming they can't do it without you. You're assuming that they haven't thought of all of these things first.
Right.
You're assuming that they've tried nothing. You're assuming you know better. You're assuming that you know how they feel better than how they feel themselves. You're assuming, like, just a lot of assumption, right? And then the positive is if you have the time and the resources and everything and you really want to help someone, there is a way to approach it so that it does not become offensive. And I think what we all have to sort of realize in my case and in my experience with people I work with is that we really do come from a good place, 80% of us, when we offer help. But we're coming from a good place of oh my God, she's so anxious. He's so anxious. They're so anxious. I want to help them out of this as fast as I can. And on top of that, I want to help myself out of this comfortable situation as fast as I can because I'm also feeling uncomfortable.
Right.
And so then, therefore,
because that is part of it. Honestly,
it's the big part of it.
It's a big part of it.
Really,
like,
so
like,
I'm trying.
What do I do with all this information that's being thrown my way?
I don't want to sit in your ick with you, so let's get us out of it as quick as possible.
Yeah,
that's where I'm saying the negativity can come from. Is when you're crying and just, I don't want to be like, keep crying. Most people go, stop crying. It's okay. It's okay. My ex used to be like, just don't think about it. And then I used to be like, yeah, right, just don't think about it. And then I would go crazy, right? And so everyone has their way of dealing with things. And then we're finding out in our moments of distress or frustration or where we need help, we're finding out your toxic traits of helping people.
Right.
Right?
Why you gotta call me toxic, bitch?
Yeah, right. It is what it is. And so, you know, I'm just saying, we got to do what we got to. Listen, when I got a phone call yesterday, and this person knows because I started laughing, and I sent the topics, and I go, I swear this was sent before, but I had gotten into, I don't like calling it a fight because I don't think it was a fight. I think that I was confronted with a conversation that was long overdue from a very good friend of mine. And she comes in hot, and I used to come in very sensitive. So there were times in that conversation where I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I think because we haven't been together in a certain amount of years, 3 years, like in person all the time, I don't think you've seen all the work that I've done. I'm not as sensitive as you remember. Oh, yes, you are. No, really, I'm not, because by now I would have been crying, right? And so I get the assumption is that she was already predicting my defensiveness, what I used to do, my defensiveness, my sensitivity, my smart mouth comments, and that's why I sort of held it back. And I was like, look. Yes, I can feel that you're here looking to have a conversation with that old person because you're geared up towards that. Right? And so as we're having a conversation, I remember myself sitting inside of my head, and I said, this can go two ways. If I let my ego in, this friendship is going to be blown up, and there goes 25 years, right? And I was like, it's up to you to decide how you're going to handle this. You know the right thing to do. Are you going to allow this person the grace because it took them a while to confront you or to have a conversation with you, and they sound like they're really hurting or really upset? Now, I get not out. Everyone has the tools to sit in that space and in that, and even in that moment, my whole body went into fight or flight. I could feel it, and I was like, "Oh my God, is this the stressful end?" Like, it is so well, and panic feeling, right? And so,
if it's somebody close to you,
when we went through a bunch of stuff, and there were a bunch of stuff that I was feeling that was not accurate, and maybe misspoke, and I said, well, let me give it to you from my perspective. Not, I didn't say that, you didn't do that, but and I gave it from my perspective.
That's a good way to frame it.
Right? And then I had to repeat it a few times, because then when it was repeated back, right? And then, because I had to make sure we were clear, right? And so I just wanted to make sure that she heard me, I heard her. And the reason why I'm saying this all the time is, it doesn't necessarily mean that people want to fix you. It's also necessarily, you may not be behaving the way people have expected or want you to or are used to you to, also in a relationship. And so it's not fixing, it's just sort of, it feels like this, and it's not with just this person. Sometimes I get accused of being something that I'm actually not at all, and I'm bad about picking up phone calls. I think I've said this before, and making calls, because I know how busy people are with the time difference, and I figured they'll just call me when they're not busy, right? So I had to look at myself after that conversation. Now, what I would have done in the past was hung up the phone, cried, and called somebody for confirmation bias.
Right.
It was very challenging
Right.
to sit with it. That's where I got out the pen and paper. I asked myself my part in it. I asked myself what I felt was true for me after I was done being defensive, right? And I think that if a friendship is really worth it and someone is really in your life, it's not easy for someone to come to you with a conversation. So someone might come to you or me or someone with a conversation of, hey, I feel like every time we talk, you make me feel like I need to be fixed. Or you make me feel like whatever I'm doing isn't right. Or you make me feel like, or I allow you to make me feel like. Either way, I feel like A, B, C, and D. And so I think what happens to a lot of us is we stop sharing things with people that we don't feel that they're listening because instead of listening, all they're doing is trying to fix. That doesn't feel good.
And I definitely don't want that for many of my friends or family or anybody. And, and when somebody comes to you with something like that, if they have been sitting on that, chances are they've been sitting on it for a long time. If it's bottled up and it's, something they've really wrestled with talking to you about. So by the time it gets to you, it's probably going to be super emotional as it comes out of them too. So, it's
and a little
hard.
Distorted. And a little distorted, only to the sense of because we blow it up in our brain, and then the longer we wait to talk about something, the more implosive. Or what I was also thinking, which could be very toxic, listen, if I were to say in that moment, you sound really frustrated, I would have probably been hung up on.
Right.
Because that's the kind of,
well, that's turning it back around on them rather than taking ownership, right? It's like.
Totally. Well, and you want to make people feel like you're listening, right? So if I say you sound really frustrated, sure, but you have to kind of gauge the room. But what is it about you or me or anyone else? Because I've come across lots of people, we all want to fix people for different reasons of our own.
Right.
You may want to fix somebody because you grew up perfect and you think everyone should be perfect the way it was supposed to be in your household.
I'm sorry, who are you pointing to?
I'm pointing to
Girl,
you and all the people out there.
It's going to be a long conversation if that's what,
But I'm just saying in general, if what I think is good for you and now I'm going to impose that on you,
right?
That is not going to end pretty.
Well, I think it's when you've been through certain situations, and for me growing up as the eldest sibling, I'm the big sister. I've got 4 younger brothers and a younger sister, and God Almighty, do I feel like, responsible for them emotionally in a lot of ways, when I'm around them, if they start sharing things with me that are hard. I mean, my Lord, 2 of them, I was like bottle feeding, and, we have that big of an age difference. So they do feel like my kids in a way, as well as just my younger brothers. It's a weird dynamic.
So have they ever said anything, or has anyone ever asked you not to be the second parent?
No, they haven't, but I feel it. I feel it, and I feel that I need to stop that a little bit sometimes, and let them have their life and have their experience, because it is different than mine. And if I tell them the answer, they're not going to learn from it. You got to experience.
Well, and that's just also from your perspective, right? So it's like, and also let me ask you, how do you see yourself implementing that and that actually working?
Well, I have to just keep my mouth shut and say, are you just venting? Do you want me to just be here for you? How can I be here for you? I love you.
And
do you want my advice or do you not? Do you want me to just listen and sit with you?
Well, and sometimes just sitting and kind of feeling the room and listening, what will happen is people will just start going on, and they'll start trusting and feeling safe and letting a bunch more things out that we didn't realize were in there, right? And then it will have nothing to do with the first thing. It will have to do with so many other things. So also sometimes silence too, but I think if you look at it intuitively, if you look at it from another perspective, is before you get in with your family and stuff, you just say to yourself, how can I enjoy my family today?
Yeah.
And so, but
Totally.
instead of adding, how can I enjoy and not fix them today? Just, how can I enjoy my family today?
I don't ever go in thinking, how can I fix them? Ever. It's
No,
just a
I know
thing
you
that
don't,
comes
but
up
I
and
think
it's like, and I'm thinking, how can I help? I'm not trying to fix anybody. I'm not trying to tell anybody that like, oh, I'm perfect and I have all the answers and I know, it's more
but
of a
no
like,
one's saying you
I see
are.
you hurting and I want to help.
Okay, and I get that you know that, but they don't know that.
I know that. But I'm just clarifying, and I'm feeling a little defensive off of what you just said, of me going in thinking I'm going to fix people, because I don't go in thinking I'm going to fix people. That's not
I
how
know
it happens.
that you, I understand, and forgive me for using that hard statement,
Yes.
but sometimes I'm very direct and I will learn to reframe. So let me reframe that.
Yes.
How can you go in and enjoying your family without feeling like the responsibility of a second parent and a big sister just to be able to enjoy them?
Well, everything I just said, I think just, taking a deep breath and sitting back and asking them, or either being silent, like you just suggested. I love that suggestion. I think that's great. Or asking if they want my help in this or not.
Okay. Because I just think that it teeters, right?
Yeah, it does.
And so, listen, when I had the conversation yesterday, or when people seem to build up a lot and get very frustrated at me, you tend to start to hear what they really think, the things when they're heated and they say. And then the old me wanted to be like, oh, so this is what you think of me. Oh, and then the walls want to go up, right? And then like, fine, I'm just not going to offer anything anymore. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not saying you do this. I'm saying this is me. And so I feel like sometimes there is something in me attached to when I want to help people. And it's not like, oh, if they don't listen, I'm pissed off. It's kind of like I'm doing it for myself too, because I like to feel needed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And listen, I've come to you asking for all the help in doing these sessions, so please don't think that I'm upset with you for calling my shit out like I want you to.
Oh,
I want you to go for it and have at it, and I'm never going to be mad at you for it. I may ask you to clarify, but I'm not going to be mad at you for it.
No, I get it. But it's all in the way we say it, right?
Yes.
So do you see how my tone and my disposition, when I said it in a specific way, we were able to communicate and rectify it. But imagine if you don't have those skills and you're dealing with family members, friends, bosses, coworkers who aren't as intuitive or, educated in spirituality or whatever it is you're doing. They could take it offensively.
Yeah, totally.
So we have to be very careful with our wording, when we say it, how we say it, and make sure that those people trust you enough and know you well enough to even want your advice, for you to even give your advice.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And some of them do outrightly ask me, what do you think? What would you do?
Of course.
And I get that. I feel like more often than
Yeah.
not, which is great. But I do overstep sometimes when they don't ask. Because I'm thinking, oh, they're too afraid to ask for help right now or something. And I just step right over that line. And it's
well, and it's
not
like
wise,
the fixer, right? It's easier to be the fixer because then we could stay busy and then we can help. And then hopefully we won't be in the line of fire either.
Well, I think it's what you said as far as just wanting to change that energy up. Like if somebody's coming in and they're so heavy with what's going on, I'm not a naturally heavy person by any means. I am usually very optimistic and light, and I like to sort of keep the energy that way as best as possible. So I'm sitting there going, how can I, make this a better situation for us? But sometimes I guess we just got to sit there in that.
I mean, you got to sit there in that. And then remember this, though. We're all talking a really good game about you've got to feel what you're feeling so that it can move on. Well, then, okay, tell the helper in me to sit with the feeling with the person that we're trying to help, because
good point.
I'm on high speed mode, right? And so it's like, get us out, highest carpool lane. We could do this together. Let me just fix it for you and get out of here as soon as possible, right? And so I have a friend who, unfortunately, the brother passed on Friday, and I so much wanted to be like, I can help with this, I can do this for that, I can do that for that, and I was like, stop it. stop it, stop it. If she needs your help, she will ask. So I basically just said, I'm really sorry. I just want you to know I'm here if you need me. So if there's anything you need, I'm here.
Yeah.
And I found myself going to text like 5 or 6 or 7 times because it's such a habit. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you need me to help with the kids? Do you need... No. Like, I just let people do their thing and hope that when you're close enough and the friendship is strong enough that they will ask for help. And I really wanted to fix the situation. I had so many great ideas, and I was like, it's not my place, which was really challenging, right? And so, because I get offended when people, let's say, will come and they'll say something about this, and I'll just be like, bitch, like, don't you know who I am? I am the fixer. You can't fix me. No, I'm kidding. But in the sense, right, is that people, we don't know where their ego's at. And yes, if they're our friends, sure. But there are some times where I have said something and it has hit so wrong that friendships haven't recovered. And all I was really ever trying to do was help.
Of course. Yeah. Same. But so let's talk about for a minute what happens when you're trying to fix passive aggressively. And let's say it's not an outright conversation, but maybe you are making little comments or you are behaving different. Let's say it's a marriage or a relationship, because I've been in these in the past too. And maybe my girlfriend was driving me crazy because she doesn't clean or leaves... I had one that used to just, I don't know why, just leave all the damn cabinets open. I used to call her Hurricane Baby.
I do that.
I fucking hated it. Because, you know, I like a clean house. I do like a clean house. But I would tell her, I'd walk in the morning, I'd go, I can tell everything that you've done this morning because you leave a path. Every cabinet that you've used, every drawer that you open. I can tell you what your whole routine was this morning. But, so now when you have a situation like that, I know the outright thing would be just to address it. And let's say you've addressed it a few times, but it doesn't change and it's driving you nutty. And people, well, I'm using this as an example. I've learned my lessons from this, but let's just say, because I feel like it's something that just a lot of people struggle with.
There are 2 ways you could go with this. Because my ex did this one thing to me once. I will never fucking forget it, and I'm still so fucking pissed till this day. But he was fucking right, and now I'm pissed that he's right every time I go to fucking clean it. So one day he goes to me, he goes, come here. And I go, oh my God, I felt like a child getting scolded by their parent. And he pointed to the drain in the sink, and there was some like food stuff, because we don't have garbage disposals here, right? And he goes, do you see that? I don't like when you do that. It's disgusting. And I go, oh, well. And I turned around and walked away because I met his passive-aggressive with more passive-aggressive. Right? And so it depends where you're at. If you're in victim mode, then you'll fall prey to the passive-aggressive. But if you're another passive-aggressive person, it's just going to implode more and more and more. Now, I'm not saying that for a week straight after that, I purposely put extra things in that thing. I'm just saying.
That's the passive-aggressive. He wasn't being passive. He was being aggressive.
I know.
If you left your food in there on purpose, that's the passive aggressive.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at, is that it could lead in the way in which he said it, right?
Sure.
It's not that he was, okay, if we're trying to change people or our partner,
you're trying to teach them a lesson.
Whatever, or we're trying to communicate what it is that is not going to make us fly off the handle, right? But his approach then got my response because he came in hard and I went in harder. That was ego. Right? Now, I probably would say, oh, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I'm going to work on that.
And hopefully he wouldn't approach you that way, or your next partner won't approach you that way. You know what I mean?
For sure, but it really is in the way in which we approach people, because they're not listening to what we're saying. They're listening to our energy.
That is exactly right. That is a huge point.
And
because like they say, people don't remember sometimes what you say, but they remember how you make them feel, right?
For sure. And so in my conversation last night, I said, whoa, you're coming in really hot. And I said, and your tone is making me already feel defensive.
Right.
And then they said, well, I am hot. And well, I am. And I was like, okay, so as long as I spoke up and communicated that, then I know now this has nothing to do with me. It has to do with whatever she's been marinating in.
Right.
And then she's been sitting on it, or he's been sitting on, and then now they're coming at me. Okay, fine. But I noticed I could have very easily mirrored that same image. And I
Yeah.
saw the ego over here wanted to go, no, say something, say something. No, just listen, be respectful, hear what they have to say, if it's worth it. Now, when people try to change people and you're trying to get a point across or whatever, you're going to have to compromise in the sense of this, is that going in, you have to know your deal breakers, meaning there are closed doors and open doors. So if you're pissed and you know someone's messy, but you think you're going to be able to change them to be non-messy, that's your fault.
Right.
That's not their fault.
Right. Agreed.
Right. And so there are some things some of us just can't avoid. Listen, I have the ADHD and some other things, and those doors in the kitchen being open, or I don't screw tops on things right away, used to drive Marco crazy. And I honestly am really trying, but it's not that I'm doing it on purpose. And so I get that it can be frustrating, but then maybe you should be with somebody who has OCD.
Right. Right.
Right? Somebody who's in line with the way you like to do things, or the way you want to keep your home, or the way you believe. Because the fact is we like to be around like-minded individuals.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
let's
so-
say, and
Come,
okay,
sorry.
yeah, and I like that. No. I was just giving that relationship. So I feel like it's probably clicking for people right now for like their close relationships. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. Now, what happens when it catches you off guard in little situations where I was online with a vendor, and it was extremely frustrating. You could tell that the person wasn't trying to help, because now you can't just pick up the phone and call people. You're sitting online, you're waiting for them to respond literally for 7 minutes. I sat and I was waiting for one simple response, and then you got to answer them back, and then you wait on the next response. And it's like, in those moments, I was sitting remembering that we were going to be talking today, and I'm like, ooh, I have a choice right now, because I can passively aggressively go on here and try to make this go the way I want it to go, or I can just fucking let it go, and then deal with it
What
with
are your
another person
choices?
at some point, and not be so frustrated, because I could feel my heat just going like this.
Well, and think about it. What are your choices? So if you're
Right.
frustrated, and then you relay your frustration onto that person who's going to help you, hopefully you're going to get someone who's been trained about all that and knows to ignore the verbal kind of
The jerk on the other end.
Yes. Or we know that you get further being kinder, but if you're not in that space, then you're now going to go, I'm going to inflict this on him because it's their fault, because they're on the phone and I think that, like you said, waiting until you're in a better space to get further is the more important thing to do. Hopefully, when we start practicing this practice, it will just start to become habit, and it's just normal, and it's just like, oh, they're having a rough day. Oh gosh, that's hard. Oh gosh, let me blah 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 blah. Or because before, when we used to be able to call customer service and you weren't getting what you wanted, I've noticed in Italy the customer is not right. The owner of whatever establishment is right. In the States, we're always right. So we have a sense of entitlement of like, do you know, I need this, I'm paying for that. And in Italy, it's like, meh, good luck with that. Like, so is everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? And so I've gotten very used to that, like sort of, and I didn't, listen, I went down in a blaze of glory. I went down swinging. Like that one for me was really hard, because when I want something done, I want it done right now in that second for that moment. But that's where we have to start learning to resist the temptation of our ego going, I want it done now. I want it done here. I'm giving money there. It's going to get done either way. How it's going to get done in which energy is up to you.
Right. And I'm not one to sit and push and be like that and be like, yeah.
No, I know, but
you
we're
want to
just
be
doing this
kind
for
to
example.
people still, regardless. But I sit and get
Of
so
course.
frustrated because I'm like, my God, I've been on this chat with this guy or girl or whoever's on the other line for, almost 40 minutes. And it should have been like a 3-minute conversation. And it's just like,
okay, but then they're in line. But here's what I'm going to say, which is very bitchy, and excuse everyone, but I'm just using Ashley today so here's another situation where I'm going to say it's your ego because I don't think it's you, are assuming people should be doing their job in a specific way up to your standards, and because they're not doing it, you want to fix the situation, fix them, fix it, whatever it may be. That's the mindset you've got to fix.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's those little moments are the ones that really catch me off guard, and then I recognize and I go, oh, this is the same
so that's
thing.
That's the ego.
Yeah, but it's good because now I'm starting to recognize it. So like yesterday, I recognized it. I was getting frustrated and I went, oh, this is the same thing as, like these rules don't just apply is what I'm trying to say to our partner, to our family, to our friends, it'll sneak up on you like that in the little things in your daily routine where you don't expect it. And then you're like knocked completely off your game.
Well, and I'll give you, for instance, this one, I think we could all of us pet owners can understand this one. Nothing frustrates me more than people with their dogs off the leash, especially when you're not in a dog park.
Yeah,
and so here in Italy, it's not a law. And so people not only have their dogs off the leash on busy streets, a lot of people just open their front doors and let their dogs go run, and they're running all over town, right? But when you're at the dog park, and somebody's on their phone smoking a cigarette, and you're like, whose dog is this? Where's the owner? Right. And then by the time you're like, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Like, and I have 2 small dogs, and there's a big German Shepherd
They're appetizers.
Coming. Right? They're little snack packs.
They are.
And so I'm like, no, they will not be your snack today. But then I allow myself to be taken out of my character, but then I justify it because I'm protecting my dogs.
Right. And I get that. And I was walking here the other day around the track, and a guy with a pit bull was walking with the dog off leash and not paying attention and just walking along, and the dog sort of, those. And listen, I have nothing against those dogs. They're super sweet, but one of them did try to kill my little dog at some point. So I am wary of them. But, so, and he all of a sudden, I just stopped in the trail. I just stopped and stood there. And he finally almost bumps into me and goes, oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. And I'm just like,
It's like,
dude,
and it's so frustrating because also, too, they'll be like, Franco, as your dog is aggressively attacking my dog. There's no urgency, right? So those are ways that are caught off guard that I want to be like, I need to teach you how to be a proper pet owner. I need to teach you how to, instead of just going, it occurred, it happened, thank God the dogs are safe. Yeah. Let me move on with my day.
Let me move on and not make it an
But
energetic
a lot
thing.
of us will go, how was your day? How were things? Oh my God, I went to the park and there was this guy and then the story just keeps going and going and going.
And the energy keeps going, and then you bring more of it the next time. I believe that.
And then you're even shocked that it happens another time.
Yeah.
But it's like, but the momentum, what we're all learning and what we're trying to drive home is your energy is just as powerful that you bring to the table as your words. So if I come into your home, let's just say, hypothetically, I've been told in the past that I give specific looks. And in the past, people have felt like judgy looks. Like, let's just say, like I'm looking, people are assuming that I'm automatically judging you. And I'm like, I'm just observing, right? And
that's so funny, Dina.
I have made comments to the effect of like, oh, you should try your hair like that, thinking I was being lovely or whatever. But I've been told it makes people feel like they're coming up short and that they're not enough, or I think that they should be whatever. And I've learned that is a part of my directness, and I need to work on that. And it never occurred to me that I was making people feel judged, but it sounds like I hurt a lot of people in that process, and that was never my intention, but I do have to take responsibility for it. I mean, you'll know if I'm judging you, believe me. I will say something. And so
well, you just reminded me years ago, I had a boss who's now a friend, Diener. And She invited me over to her home for the first time, and I walked in, and I'm, in my late 20s at this point, and the house was beautiful. I mean, I was just like, gorgeous home. And I walked in and I went, oh my God, this looks just like a Pottery Barn catalog. I was coming from the most lovely place at 29 years old, and she goes, what?
Let me guess, because it was all from Neiman Marcus.
I offended her so badly. Diener, pumpkin eater.
That's
anyway,
tough.
and it was just funny.
Yes,
You just
no, and
little
listen,
aside.
we do
Sorry about your
put
Pottery
our foot
Barn
in our
home,
mouth.
Diener.
We do put our foot in our mouth on occasion, but the most refreshing thing you can do is own it.
Yeah.
Is
I love
own it.
Pottery
So
Barn. I failed to understand the problem.
But imagine if she hadn't said something to you. And
I
then
know.
she kept it inside and was festering it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're confused when a couple times she's being passive aggressive to you.
Yeah.
Because she's still thinking of that.
So stupid. Anyway.
It's so stupid. No, I had offered once my someone to help clean out their pantry. And I was told that was very offensive because I was so excited and it was during quarantine and I was like, hey, like we could organize the pantry. It would be so much fun. And you guys have a label machine and oh my God, because I used to do personal organizing.
Huh.
And I got in a lot of trouble for that comment.
Yep.
And now I can see when it was given the other perspective in a gentle, nice way,
Yeah.
I could see where that would hurt.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I realize when people come and then you're expecting people to just come compliment and do whatever, and then people go, yeah, but what about that? Or what about that? And then you're like, and then you feel just as bad. And then you're like, oh, that's how people feel when I say stuff like that.
Right.
You know what I
like
mean?
their pantry
So-
just the way it is. Exactly.
Well, and how do you not, if you see potential in someone, right, as a
Right.
friend or as a partner or whatever, how do you not try to fit it into your world going, well, if they just did a little bit more of that, it would be perfect. Or if they just
Right.
did a little bit, it would be amazing, right? But we have to learn to start loving people where they're at and where they're going to grow. And I think the number one thing we go in wrong with any kind of relationships is thinking we can change people.
Well, and
Or
I think
fix
you just
people.
said something very important. You said when we look at people and we're thinking how can we fit them into our world.
Yes.
Right. No. Right.
Ouch.
Yeah. Ouch.
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 Ouch. Because my therapist had said once to one of my friends who got pregnant later in life, and she was super worried about the baby and having her life. And he said, you don't change your life for the baby. You fit your baby into your life. You keep living your life, and whatever it is you want to do, you keep doing that, but the baby just comes along. You fit the baby in, right? And she had said to me that advice alone was life-changing.
Wow, yeah.
Because it had never occurred to her that she had the option to do that. Right? So it
And the
never
same with
occurs to us.
relationships.
Exactly. That we have the
Yeah, that's
option to
great.
go, okay, I'm going to fit you into my life and it'll be easy. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. But a lot of us, we will go and jump so far ahead of the game going, well, my parents are going to hate that about them, or my siblings are going to do that. And then da-da-da-da-da. So we're already seeing way in advance, and we've already created a false narrative of woulda, shoulda, coulda, oh no, oh shit, what the fuck. And then we've now based a decision off of that in that narrative in our head.
Sure. Or maybe it is true. Your parents are going to hate that about that person. But so what? Let that be between them, and let it work itself out, I guess. I mean, I've learned those lessons the hard way, too.
Well, and it's really important because what I also learned, and I think this is actually super good advice, I try to learn to let whoever I'm with romantically, even my friends, have their own relationship with my family members and also other friendships. So when Marco and I separated, there was never a weird thing of like, delete him, block him, blah, blah, blah. No, you cultivated those friendships. By all means, keep those friendships. Like, do what you're going to do. And so it was really great because he would text my dad on his own or a brother on his own or whatever. And I never got in between that, sometimes he would show me funny texts people sent, and I would be like, oh, so-and-so text you, that's super cool. Like, I love the fact that you can feel like you don't have to go through me. Now, when I go through other friends that I know, let's say hypothetically, situations or miscommunications with other friends of their past, I will never directly text their husband. I put us in a 3-way group chat, and because I always want you to be respectful, to know that I'm respectful, and I want you to know what we're saying. And a lot of people say they don't care, but they do care.
Right.
And that is my insurance policy. What I've learned for myself that works.
That's smart.
Is, so that you don't get defensive. You don't feel like you have to do anything. So I will tell you, when this person called me yesterday, this was one of the most amazing things that I got to notice in myself and I got to see in myself, is that I handled myself in such a grown-up way, but I was laying there and it took me out of nowhere because I got a text beforehand that said to call, and I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And then as I was calling, I felt all of that, the body, when you get that gut rot, and you, like, when someone's like, I need to talk to you, and you're like, oh no, shit, I'm in trouble. Yeah. It's like that. And I called right away, and I felt those feelings. I kept working through them. I kept, just sitting going, oh yeah, I am guilty of that. You know what? And I repeated myself about 4 or 5 times of like, and again, I would like to apologize. Like, and again, I would like to apologize. And I think that apologizing is so much easier than the other option of, like, if we're trying to fix someone and they call us out on it, you know what, you're right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I overstepped. It's like, don't try to defend it.
Yeah, I agree.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Because
it's really important that we start allowing people to have their own ways of doing things and not keep inputting on what we think that they should be doing and how they could get quicker, or I'm saying this only when it's unsolicited.
And I would also like for people close to me to feel like they can approach me and tell me when something's bothering them, and that it doesn't have to get to a heated point either for us to have that conversation if there's something we need to discuss, right? You want to feel approachable.
Well, and also I forgot, because, the brain, on that phone call, the number one thing I was so proud of myself is when they said, we need to talk. My side of the street is so clean because I've been doing so much work that I didn't have all these anxieties going, oh shit, what did I say to someone? Oh shit, did I say something? Did I send a wrong text? So about doing this work, and when you keep your side of the street clean, you're able to enter these conversations not already defensive, prepared for war, needing to state your case. You actually can just listen.
Right.
And I found that so empowering. I was really proud of myself for that. I was really, really proud.
Yeah.
That is good. This work is important. Like this work and the stuff that everyone has been talking about as of late, and spiritual teachers and everything. It is so important to do our part. So often we are told to leave our body and we need everything else that is outside of us, when the fact is the only thing that saved me yesterday in that conversation was me inside my own head.
Absolutely. And would you say that's our subtle change, profound impact?
Yes, is your subtle change, profound impact is when you want to get out of a hard conversation, you have to go in order to get out. Go in, be able to hear it, be able to listen to it, be able to receive it, be able to understand it, and sometimes learn to be able to shut up. And I think that the subtle change and the profound impact is, if you want change, you have to be the change.
Yeah. Michael Jackson said it a long time ago. I'm not a fan,
He did?
but whatever. Start with the man in the mirror. There
we go. I'm like, oh no, now I'm quoting Michael Jackson. That's
I don't want to do that.
That's that. Yeah, I know, but
Anyway.
There we go. So it's a deep conversation, but it also can be fun, and they don't have to be difficult.
Exactly. It's all about the energy that you allow to perpetuate in it, right?
Yeah, so just before we go, I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I could go in your house and go, oh, you picked this color? Like,
you would.
I would have picked something different.
You hate earth tones. I know.
Right?
Look at my earth tones.
Or you could go in and you could literally be like, Oh my God, this is so amazing. Do you think an accent wall would be fun in here?
No.
Like, it just would be, I
Fuck
understand,
you, I like
but
my earth tones.
which one would you receive easier?
Yeah.
Right? And so I just
Yeah.
think that that's important because everyone wants to give you their not their input, right?
Yeah.
We all want to give input, but just don't be a dick about it.
Yeah. Their opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
what they think would look great right there. And everybody's got a different take on that. So, yes, agreed. And that's why, for instance, when I was doing a lot of this stuff here, I didn't poll a lot of people because I'm like, you know what? If I ask everybody their opinion, I'm going to get 20 different answers. And at the end of the day, I want to decide how my house looks. I don't care what you think.
Amen. You're gonna do what you're gonna do anyway.
Right. I gotta live with it every damn day.
Anyway, yes. And that is the most powerful thing that you can
trust your gut.
Literally discover. Yes, because I just think like when I didn't call after the phone call yesterday, when I didn't call anyone or anything, I woke up a few times in the middle of the night and I was still able to just trust me. And then this morning when I woke up, I was relieved.
Yeah, I bet.
Because then I don't want all
your
of
street's
those
clean.
other people going, well, and you don't want all of those people going, so how's it going?
Yeah,
like,
you don't. You don't want that energy carrying on and and it's none of their business. It really is between you and that person. And I get it. Look, there have been times where you go through tough things and you need to talk because it doesn't feel resolved. That's not the same thing. I would say if you got through the whole thing and you felt like you left it in a good place, good for you,
Well, yeah, and then also be aware of who you go to when you're telling what to, and I can bet you tell different things to different people because when you're looking for confirmation bias, you're going to go to the people that that are going to be like, motherfucker, blah, 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 or da-da-da, and that's what I'm learning not to do.
Well, because then you stay stuck. You're just validating your own opinion. How do you change and how do you grow and how do you change a situation if someone's just telling you you're right the whole time?
Totally.
You don't try to do any work.
And do you see that energy, how you just got super frustrated because you're like, and you just say that. Sometimes you can give that same energy when you're getting upset for someone.
Oh, sure.
And then all of a sudden that person now goes, oh shit, I went too far. Now I have to start protecting the person that I'm talking about. Going, well, I just didn't mean, I don't want you to think they're that terrible, but it doesn't happen all the time. And then there's a whole other thing that starts.
Just don't do it. Keep your side of the street
just
clean.
Don't do it. It's keep your side of the street clean, meaning
Yeah.
that it's easier said than done, but not everything needs to go online or to be, repeated or to, it just decide who you want to be in these relationships.
There's a reason God made therapists.
Right? Oh my God, that's amazing.
I'm grateful for you, Dina.
I'm not a therapist. I'm just a coach.
I know that, but you are the person that I talk to sometimes. But,
thank you. And
yes.
I'm grateful for my therapist, right? And so I'm just saying, like, we're here if you want to talk.
Yes, exactly.
That's
but
what.
Keep
that's
your side
what
of the
it really
street
is
clean.
down there. Keep your shot. Like, be your own street sweeper, and
That's
come
right.
more than
I like
once
it.
a week.
That's right. I like
right?
It. Yes.
Because that shit needs to be cleaned.
It do.
And sometimes saying nothing, it turns out, can be just offensive to some people. This silent way. So sometimes when I don't know what to do, and if someone's super busy, I just check out and I go, okay, I don't know if I should call if they're too busy or if they're this or if they're that. And so then it turns out that actually upsets people. And I didn't realize that, but I just assumed they were in my head and they knew that that's what I was thinking.
We're not all psychic, Dina.
I understand that, but I could think that telepathically I could push that to them.
Yeah, no, people like to know that you're thinking of them. They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like some people are so busy or I don't have a lot to add.
Doesn't matter.
Or I know, but I'm just saying the things that go through my head, right? So when people are getting offended, they're thinking that I'm purposely doing it when that's the last thing on my mind. It's actually an insecurity on my end.
And that's funny because I have friends exactly like you who have told me that again and again, and I don't hear from them. And it actually makes me angry. It hurts at first, and I'll just go, gosh, I wonder why I haven't heard from my very good friend. in months and months and months, I'm always the one that reaches out. I'm always the one. And if I don't call, we just don't talk. And it's hurtful. It's just hurtful. I would say, you know, if you feel that way, and I understand why you're looking at someone and you think, oh, they are really busy, a text, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'd love to catch up when you have time. Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Text wasn't enough, and I had to pick up the phone and call, which I get that. But in my defense, here's what happens. If someone's super busy and they're going through, and I feel like I'm just being fit in between a 5-minute space, that doesn't sit well with me, because how am I going to have a meaningful conversation? But see, for that person, that's fine because they just want to hear your voice. But for me, I'm not a small talker. So then how do you come to a compromise?
Well, I think it can be both, you know? I mean, you can still send a text and say, you know, I don't have time to chat right now. I'm about to jump on a Zoom, whatever. But I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you, and let's try to talk this weekend. Give them something.
Okay.
Give them something to look forward to, you know? I mean, I'm tired of people texting me and saying, oh, we got to catch up soon. Well, fuck you. When? Yeah. You know? I mean, I hear that all the time, and I think that's a lovely sentiment, but put a date to it. Put some action behind your words.
But then let's, and I get that, but let's look at it from the other side. Let's just say hypothetically, we've texted or whatever, and then I've tried to make that, and you always seem really busy, and although you may look for parts that you could fit me in, I'm not saying this happens between it, I'm giving a hypothetical. Then I'm going to, let's say, stop trying, and I'm going to be like, well, she's always busy, so she's going to let me know when she's available because I've tried, and she's always busy, and then we always have to do it.
If you have legitimately tried a few times, then I think you need to call that to that person's attention and say, well, I did try here and here and here, and I just figured you were too busy and you'd pop up.
Okay, and then, so we'll end on this part. Now I'm taking your job. But we'll end on this part in the sense is like, think about this. So let's just say we're trying to fix someone, right? So your way of communicating is one way. My way of communicating is the other. So you're trying to fix me to your way, and I'm trying to fix you to my way. That doesn't work. So then somewhere in the middle, we have to have a compromise. And you have to not take it personal that I'm not specifically calling you. And then I have to make more of an effort to know that you are very busy. And even though you're fitting me in between, you're doing the best you can.
Sure. I mean, I would say that's tough because I understand your friend's problem, because if you don't hear from somebody for months, I'm talking about not just, I'm talking about for months.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're close. It's like, well, I don't know.
That's shitty. No, I don't do that.
I don't like that.
But
I don't like that.
No, I get that part. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, we all want to feel good. And if everyone's going in and doing what's right for them, then where is the let's meet in between? I'm going to hear you, you're going to hear me, and we're going to find our way of communication and our dynamic in a way, but you have to have a conversation.
You both have to make the effort. Yeah. I mean, I feel like with some of those people I'm referring to, I've made the effort in the past. So I feel like my side of the street is clean. And if they are not doing their part, I feel like, well, then I just kind of stop sharing things with them that I would,
And do you stop cleaning service?
I recategorize those people in a way, they're no longer people that feel close to me anymore. It's like now they're becoming friends that I talk to once a year. Okay, well, I will still be kind to you when you do reach out. I will still be forgiving and respond and want to hear from you, of course. But now you're going to be in a different category because I don't feel like you're making the effort. And as Coach Dina said in one of our daily inspirations recently, what did you say? Where there's interest, there is effort. And I believe that 1,000%. So,
yes.
I mean, I do take that to heart a little bit.
I mean, we've all heard it, right? My dad used to always say, if a man wants to see you, doesn't matter how busy he is, he will always make time for you.
That's
and
right.
It is true with all of us. Whenever we want something, we will figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
And so, in this day and age, effort does equal interest.
Yeah.
And so...
And it doesn't take much. Like I said, a text. That's it. It doesn't take much to let somebody know you're thinking about them.
Absolutely.
But,
I agree.
That doesn't mean you can get on hours worth of phone calls. When you've got a very close friend, like I get that. Sometimes you put it off, these calls, because you're like, God, I know when I get on the phone with them, it's going to be hours.
Yes.
Hours. So I get that too, but then I would still say, okay, well, I can't talk right now. Let's schedule it for the weekend or next week or whenever you got time, because that's a thing. And that's a reality.
And I've been realizing too is that I live in a completely different country, right? And I don't think people realize that where I live, so like if you're on the 405, the speed limit of life has slowed down, from 60 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour. So I'm also not in the mindset on the daily basis of produce. And so I don't flow into that easily anymore. Right? And so if someone's super busy and someone's getting all their shit done and I'm going to wait for a day in my head that it's not so hard or not so.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Also, you've got a 9-hour difference with California, right? And a 6-hour difference with the East Coast. So it's like, your time is precious. Your time is valuable. You don't want to be shoved into someone's routine when you're trying to have a heart-to-heart conversation, I would think. Nobody wants that.
And then I learned that, and I never knew this until I was older in life, I learned that when people try to fit you in and they're doing whatever, they're doing the best they can with their situation. I used to take it personal that they didn't want to make time for me or that they were just fitting me in. That's how I used to receive it. It was never sort of put at me in a way of like, look, I'm doing the best I can to fit you. Because in my household growing up, you stopped everything if someone was coming into town and all the blah, blah, blah. And so I was going off of that. And now I've realized that people do have their own lives. They're doing a lot of stuff and they do want to make an effort. But if your ego's in the way, then it's not going to happen.
Right.
Bottom
line. Yes.
Bottom line.
Boy, it feels like our theme lately has been a lot about ego, which is a good thing.
And I think it's important because that's what's happening in the world right now.
Yes.
Right, and so it is going to be about who has the bigger swinging thing about
Dick?
Pharmas. Yes, there we go. Well, I was trying to be
what
appropriate.
Is this?
How did the lesbian know what this was? I could have been boobies.
Because you always go there. No, I don't know.
Okay, well,
I just did it for you this time.
Thank you, but I'm just saying with the ego, right? It's like a comparison thing, and it's just like, no, we've come too far. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And so those of us who are working on ourselves. And so I think that naming the ego is something that I find very humorous and it adds lightness to a conversation. You'll be like, hey, am I talking to Sophia or am I talking to this one? Right. Anything that you can do so that you two know whatever situation you're in, you can have these hard conversations, but no one's going anywhere.
Right, exactly. That means a lot. If you have that kind of trust and that kind of foundation where you know that's a big deal.
And if you don't know it, preface it.
Then you can really be honest. Yeah, then you can really have an honest conversation. Gentle, kind. Yeah, totally. But honest. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, all right. On that note, we do have to wrap up. We're over our time. Sorry, everybody, but thank you for hanging with us. We love having you.
Yay.
You can now find us on all the podcast platforms. They should be up. I know Apple is up. Spotify is taking a moment.
Apple is up. It's coming.
Some of them might take a moment, but just please keep checking back with us. And as always, if you want to see the video version of this podcast, to see Dina's lovely face, you must log into YouTube and subscribe on YouTube, and you can see the video version.
Yay!
Yay!
All right. Thank you, Ashley. I hope your therapy went well this week.
Oh, it was fabulous, as always. Thank you, Dina.
Amazing. You're welcome.
Okay, see you next week.
Bye. Okay, bye.
Bye. Join us here each week as we unpack life in the new normal with a new hashtag, Subtle Change, Profound Impact from Coach Dina. To get a little daily inspirational message in your social feed, follow us on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Copyright 2020 Angel Baby Films, all rights reserved.